Knew you weren't on that one.
There we go. I'm not on that one. Am I on that one? No. Keep going. There we go.
All right.
That's okay. Yeah, we're starting on time. That's the important thing. It is 6 o'clock here in the region. It's a beautiful but brisk Monday morning here in the region. January 12th, 2026. Chuck Pullen here with you. Lynette here in the producer's booth. We got to come up with a new nickname for this bubble of a studio. Bob is out. I think he shouted too much over the weekend, and so he is taking a couple days off, dealing with strep throat. Never fun this time of year. So what I did, I invited the big boss to come in. He will be here at exactly 6:22. So we're all going to wait and see if Jim rolls in at exactly 6:22 as promised, because there's things going on that he needs to talk about that I don't know a lot about. Obviously, the Bears are a big story this weekend. Bob Weir passed away. That's a big story that he is perfectly suited to address better than I can. But in the meantime, what I am suited to do is tell you about the traffic. So far, it's a quiet morning on the area roadways. Not much to report. Things moving along just fine. No precipitation, any of those things on the area roadways. A little cold, a little windy, but other than that, things looking good outside. Traffic looking good on the Illinois side. Just a little slowdown, Bishop Ford to Dan Ryan, but other than that, things looking good. Otherwise, we'll obviously keep an eye on that throughout the morning. But if you see anything, 219-845-1100, we think is working this morning. Lynette, how is the weather?
Good morning, everyone. Today we're at 28 degrees with highs of 41 and lows of 32. Should be sunny and partly cloudy. Later tonight we'll be having increasing cloudiness. And then tomorrow on Tuesday, we'll be having highs of 47 and lows of 31. Should be mostly cloudy and breezy. And then Wednesday, we'll be having highs of 37 and lows of 16. And should be cloudy and colder with a bit of snow up to 1 inch. Windy in the afternoon. And should plan for a slow and slippery evening commute.
Always love those. You get through a long day, and then you get on the highway, and everybody's going 5 miles an hour because a little bit of ice on the roads. So what's going on in your world, region? We were talking this morning about, as always, there's a lot going on, a lot of stuff going on over the weekend, both here and abroad. Obviously, we had a lot of ICE protests over the weekend, going back to the incident in Minnesota, in Minneapolis a couple days ago. We've got Iranian protests, over 500 dead, and third week of protesting in Iran. President Trump saying the USA stands ready to help. So, it's been a little while since we've had a Middle East quagmire. So it's, get back to basics, get back to dealing with issues in the Middle East, because that's what we know best. But what is on your mind? We want to hear from you. You know the number, 219-845-1100. Want to hear about your weekend. I watched way more football than I normally do. My wife held me hostage. We did go to Big Frank's. If you've not been to Big Frank's, you got to go check it out. We watched the Bears-Packers game. It's sort of a local Packers bar. Stan Stefanski, big Packers fan. So he was, rough night for them. But it's always fun. I'm just sort of a casual observer. The half the bar was Bears, half the bar was Packers. They stayed cordial. They ribbed each other. But it was, it was fun. And then my wife from Philly, we watched the Eagles game last night. That did not go so well for them. Kudos to the 49ers on that victory. But, again, that's as far as I know. And then at some point there'll be a Super Bowl, and that's pretty much where my knowledge of football ends. So, like I said, Big Boss coming in a few minutes. So if there's anything on your mind that you want to talk about before he gets here, you're welcome to call us at 219-845-1100. And I told Lynette, I said, well, there's a few issues that we're going to talk about today that I want to get her opinion on. But if you're ready, you ready to take some calls? Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead. Let's do that. So good morning, caller. You're the first caller of the morning and the week. How are you this morning? You have the telco line on and everything?
Oh, sorry. Hold on.
Yeah, she's learning the buttons. There you go. Good morning.
Hello, Chuck. Good morning.
Good morning, Trucker Mike. How are you?
Okay, first thing is I need to give a big shout out to the manager from Strax on Friday.
Okay.
Thank you so much. And Jeff Strax, that manager, was so wonderful because I had a big, big thing go on there by the deli, and everything went great.
Which store? The Hessville store?
No, 169th.
Okay.
Okay. Now,
is that not the Hessville store? I always call it the Hessville store. Okay, but anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, anyhow, it's there. I had to go to my boss's house Friday for pizza party for the IU Oregon game. I realized after Friday and Saturday, Friday the IU game and Saturday the Bears game, when IU plays, I'm going to stay where I'm at till the first half, and then I go home because IU's going to win. And I'll watch it up till the first half. Now, when the Bears play this,
you got to watch the second
Sunday,
half.
I'm not gonna watch the game until the second half.
Yeah, it's a good plan.
But I thought I saw a picture that McDermott and somebody else was up at the Bears game. So I think what's going on is McDermott and the mayor of my town, Hammond, him and his buddy stopped at the dispensary on the way up to Soldiers Field, and at halftime took the stuff they got at the dispensary and took it into the locker room and gave it to the Bears.
Oh, is that? Or maybe it's the other way.
No, I think because, our mayor had to get back home, but I think our wonderful Mayor Hammond took and stopped at the dispensary and made sure he had enough to give the Bears, so the second half they showed Green Bay that they had to go back home, But no, that's about all I got to really say. But another thing, too, is in a kitchen with my wife, we have that Alexa Dot.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked her a question. I says, Alexa, does WJOB 1230-107 ever start on time? You know what her answer was?
Just on Mondays.
I have no. No, she says I have no answer on that one. I'm just joking. The politics and all the protest, stupid stuff I don't want to talk about. But then now I'm already on my 5th survey of breakfasts in this restaurant. I picked another one I'm going to do now. I'm going to do number 6, and then I only have 4 more. But have you heard of a thing called the Scrambled Diner in Dyer?
I think it's just called the Scrambled. Yeah, the Scrambled. I think that's a favorite of Bob's. But yeah, and I got to send you a list of some other places too. But it'll be interesting to hear your results when you get done.
Yeah, I'm going to do that one because this week sometime, and then I only got 4 more. So I'll send you a list of where I've been, so I don't go back to the same one. Okay.
Okay.
But the thing is, I'm going to let you go so Mr. Wonderful Professor Walt could get on. It's either he calls first or I call first. But everybody, and I heard on a report because the L.A. Rams are coming to Chicago Sunday to play the Bears, okay? And the weather is going to be nice and cold, so that might benefit the Bears. But just in case, the mayor needs to stop at the dispensary again and take some goodies up to the Bears on the second half, But otherwise,
whatever it takes.
all the listeners, everybody out there, have a good day, behave, and just everybody just have a wonderful and safe day today.
Appreciate it, Trucker Mike. You take care of yourself. Thank you for checking in with us this morning. Do you have anybody else on the phone lines?
Nope.
Okay, fantastic. So I was asking you earlier because we were talking about traditional media. We're going to talk about this later in the day when the boss gets in. Traditional media, so a lot of the older folks still reading the newspaper, stuff like that, and then younger folks like yourself. You told me. I said, where do you get your news from? She said, I get it from TikTok. I remember when Matt first told me that. He said, I get my news from TikTok. I go, okay, well, I avoid that platform, but I'm curious to see. So one of the things is obviously we've got these ICE protests going on, a sort of continuation of what we've been dealing with, all summer now. One of the things that we said months and months ago is my concern about having ICE in these cities was that we'd have these incidents. I called them, we'd have accidents, incursions, and we're seeing that. We saw that in Minneapolis. And so one of the things that you see is that, within minutes of that incident, we had 5 different camera angles. We had people claiming everything was so half the people were saying, you were seeing different angles. You were seeing an angle from behind the car. You were seeing an angle from down the street. Everybody was shouting, "That's AI." And it was interesting to see that play out. But what were your initial thoughts when all that went down? Or what did you see on TikTok? Like what was your reaction to that?
I didn't see a lot of what happened. I've heard of what happened. But regardless, I don't think they should have shot at her. I think they should have a bit more composure. I don't know what she was doing. I don't know all the details, but I don't think it was justified in any way.
So I was thinking about this over the weekend. In my time sitting in this old studio, I remember we talked about protests in Ferguson, Missouri. You ever hear about the Ferguson protest? There's this, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago now. We had sort of a string of incidents before George Floyd. We had Eric Gardner. We had all these Mike Brown, different incidents where young black men were involved, had an incident with the police, and they were shot, or in the case of George Floyd, he was pinned down. And so this is something that, again, nothing new, but what we didn't have then that we have now is sort of this on-demand, here's 5 camera angles on TikTok. Same thing, like I said, with Charlie Kirk, is within minutes, people were still saying it. It's kind of like in the old days, I'm sure you've read about the Kennedy assassination. It was, okay, the president's been shot, and it was hours before anybody saw footage of it because they had film. They had to develop the film and fly it somewhere and put it on the air. With Charlie Kirk, or like this incident, within minutes we saw it for ourselves, and the media didn't have a chance. Like in the case of Kennedy, it was hours of like Walter Cronkite going on the air saying, "Here's what we know. Here's what's happening." Just you were counting on Walter Cronkite to tell you what's going on. You didn't get to see it for yourself for hours later, and then once you saw it, like, oh yeah, that's bad. Same thing I said with Charlie Kirk. Is like once I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, that's bad. So we get to see this almost on demand, and we get to make those immediate decisions. And it's interesting to see how that plays out when you have people on, I always say the both sides. We say the both sides people. One side says it's obvious that he could have gotten out of the way. And then the other half saying it was obvious that she hit him and, he was in the right. So it's always interesting to see how that plays out with people's immediate reaction. But then also in the case of this, we have 5 angles to digest. And it's just been interesting for me to see different people's reactions and how that's been playing out over the last couple of days. So you want to take some calls? Let's take some calls. So you got a full boat, as we say. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, I saw the video of this incident in Minneapolis, and the woman involved broke the law more than once. For one thing, she moved her car in a position to block the way of the federal agents, and they ordered her. As she pulled back, they ordered her to get out of her vehicle because she had broken the law, and they clearly intended to arrest her for prosecution purposes. Instead, she moved away and looked to me like she struck the federal cop. But in any case, they have a right to defend themselves. And in the case of this particular cop, he had already been dragged
right,
and seriously injured in another incident 6 months before. But the interesting thing about all of these incidences, the wokest Democrats always, given their appetite for lawlessness and criminality and corruption and so forth, in each case, the people involved being portrayed as innocent victims were engaged in lawless activity, and also they had a lengthy record of criminality, like George Floyd in Minneapolis, no less. But it just the people out there ought to understand that when you're given a lawful order by the policeman, roll down your window, let's see your driver's license, your insurance card, and so forth, and you refuse to do that, you're breaking the law right there. If you run away from the cops, you're breaking the law.
Well, and this becomes the danger, is that what you see on social media is a lot of people essentially not accepting their authority. You're here in my town. Right. You shouldn't be here. I don't recognize your authority. And you can say that all day long, but when you're surrounded with people with guns and badges, it gets very real very quick. So I think that's one of the dangers about having all these people sort of just not recognizing their authority to exist in their cities, is you sort of downplay, again, we all know better when an officer tells you to put your hands up or put your hands on the steering wheel or what have you. I don't care who you are, what color you are, what age you are. Comply or you're going to have a bad time, whether they're in the right or the wrong. And again, I say this from experience as somebody who was a journalist for many years. There were more than one occasion where I got hassled by the police for trying to do my job protected under the First Amendment. And instead of arguing with them, I said, yes, sir, no, sir, because I wanted to go home at night. So, Walt, I wanted to shift gears real quick because I've been curious to get your take on the story that came out last week. And I don't know if you follow this, but now that we're out of the Purdue building, we can talk about them a little bit. The story came out last week that both Purdue and IU are posting dozens of jobs, and they're using H-1B visas. They are hiring. So, for instance, there was a marketing position that paid over $127,000 a year. So it's interesting, and I'll ask Lynette the same thing coming from the university, this idea that our local university would be looking. So H-1B visa program, Lynette, is basically saying that we can't find anybody here to do this job. So we're going to bring in somebody foreign, this was very popular in the tech industry. It was like, hey, we need computer programmers or somebody like that. But now you're talking about like a marketing teacher. Like you can't find a marketing teacher in the region. And then for people like yourself, it's like, hey, we all just graduated. We're looking for stuff to do. And I know a lot of my friends that graduated got back into the educational system. It's sort of a slap in the face to people that went to that school to say, hey, we're going to use H-1B to hire people because we can't find anybody qualified. So, Walt, what are your thoughts on this, bringing in H-1B for education?
Well, it's being grossly abused by the usual wokeist Democrat crowd. They want to disadvantage Americans, particularly if they're white males, and they want to advantage people other than non-citizens. To give you some idea, my brother has a PhD, had a PhD in education, University of Chicago, and at the time he was living in Munster, and he decided, well, why not submit an application to Purdue Cal to teach one of their English classes or reading classes, and he was turned down cold. He was not looking for a full-time job. He was just looking for a part-time thing. He thought he was doing, given his credentials, he would be doing them a favor, and he was turned down flat. He couldn't
well,
believe it.
Walt, yeah, this article says the same thing. He said the university has a PhD program for marketing, and yet they're using H-1B to hire. So you create a pipeline to create educators, and then when it comes time to hire an educator, you hire not only without your own program, but also somebody foreign, which is just baffling. It's one thing, again, if you're in the tech industry and you're looking for people, there's a lot of coding and stuff like that. I get that in the tech industry, that there are certain jobs that that H-1B applies for, but something like this in this universe, you're creating the pipeline, and then at the end of the day, you have all these students that have graduated,
Yep.
And then they're saying, well, no, never mind, we're going to hire outside of the country. It's baffling to me, Walt.
Well, it's they're very the wokeist Democrats. They're very consistent. Whenever there's a conflict between American citizens policemen in uniform with a illegal alien, who do they back almost instantly? The legal alien. I mean, it's just their mentality, and I don't think it bodes well for the future of the country if we don't fix this thing, where they can cook up a system of selection and so forth that disadvantages American white males and advantages illegals from overseas. I mean, it's mind-boggling. Who would have ever thought that? But that's what's going on.
Right. Well, hey, Walt, we do have to take a break, so I appreciate the call. Appreciate your wisdom as always. So Lynette, Walt says white male, but I say when I look at Purdue campus, it's pretty diverse. It's a lot of people of different color. I mean, and again, any of those people that went through that system, got a degree in marketing, doesn't matter, man, woman, white, black, whatever your background is, the idea that the university would teach you how to do this and then hire from without and not even think, hey, we created all these, let's start going through, hey, everybody that just graduated, anybody want to apply for this job? You know what I mean? Anybody want to intern? And I mean, it feels like a slap in the face to me. It's
unfortunate that a lot of places don't take people whose only experience come from classes. Right. I mean, that's what they're
okay, that would be the question is again, there are some things that you're right, you want that external experience. And that's sort of the thing is that university is always interesting to me because I went to Columbia College in Chicago. A lot of my instructors worked in the business. So they were literally the guys that worked on the evening news. They came in. My station manager when I worked in Chicago was one of my teachers. And that was like, okay, these guys have relevant experience. They know what they're talking about. And it's a good networking opportunity because if you work hard, they say, hey, I got a job for you over here. So, I mean, again, that's a good point is, but again, you have this pipeline where if people are educated here in the region, you assume they're going to get local jobs and then they become alumni and all these things and they support. You think you would look within before you look externally like that. So, but I know you want to take a break. So why don't we take a break? We got people holding, so we'll take a quick break. We'll be back with your phone calls here on, what do we call it now? The winter of Chuck's discontent here on WJOB.
Are you sausage curious?
Who's ready for Polish?
Big Frank Sausage has the very best Polish food in the region.
You had a mouthful of Big Frank sausage?
We have a full bar, dine-in, carry-out, delivery, and catering available.
I've had a mouthful of Big Frank sausage.
I've got a mouthful of Big Frank sausage.
219-378-9556. Smacznego i na zdrowie.
Who's ready for Polish?
High school basketball postseason is here with the girls starting February 3rd and boys March 3rd. Be on every game for as low as $1,500. Sponsor local. Reach millions. Visit heartlandsportsnet.com today for more information.
St. Nicholas Byzantine Catholic Church, located at 8103 Columbia Avenue in Munster, celebrates Divine Liturgy every Sunday at 9:30 a.m. We are Eastern Rite Catholics in union with the Pope, the Bishop of Rome. All Catholics who celebrate Divine Liturgy or Mass with us fulfill their Holy Day and Sunday obligations as they do in their own churches. Join us in person this coming Sunday to find out the beauty of a Byzantine Catholic Divine Liturgy at St. Nicholas Church.
But it's time. You gotta catch up. Yeah. I'll catch up with you. I'll be right back. I'll see you in a minute.
Yeah.
Well, what's up, boy? Hey, Ryan. Not tonight, man. Not tonight. Oh, yeah. You guys are right. Hey, come on. Let's go. Come in.
Are you searching for a college where you belong? Calumet College of St. Joseph wants to know you and give you the support you need to succeed. Are you worried about how you'll pay for your degree? 95% of our students receive financial aid, including scholarships and grants. Need some extra help with your classes? You'll benefit from our small class sizes, free tutoring, internship planning, faculty mentors, and so much more. Come experience our accepting, supportive college family for yourself. Schedule your campus visit and apply at ccsj.edu.
Hey, 625 here in the region. Chuck Pullen. No Bob Starkey today. He is feeling a little under the weather, so big boss coming in shortly. He said he'd be here at 6:22?
He's late.
He's 3 minutes late. So in the meantime, we're taking your calls at 219-845-1100. Good morning, caller. You are on the air.
Chuck, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Well, I'm doing good. I'll give a good shout out to you. The phone levels sound good, which I can only imagine there's only one guy in WJOB who knows how to run technology, and that'll be you. So I'll assume you did something right, which is great to hear.
Until Jim replaces me with an H-1B, I mean, bring somebody else in, somebody that'll work far cheaper than I do.
Please, I don't even bring his name up. So, hey, public service announcement. Anybody who has kids in grade school looking to get out of the wonderful educational system the grade schools are over in Hammond, East Chicago, Our Lady of Grace is holding an open house, I think, a week from, not this weekend, the next weekend. And I understand the voucher system is changing a little in the state of Indiana.
Right.
Although don't take my word on that. But you can get better vouchers, you get more money, all that good stuff. Doesn't have to come out of your pocket, even though you are paying for it anyways out of your tax dollars. So, but you have a chance to send your child to Our Lady of Grace. I guess a much cheaper expense or at none, because they'll transfer the money over in the voucher program. So if you're interested in anything like that, don't forget Our Lady of Grace is a great Catholic school in the area.
Yeah, no, I went to
St.
I went to St. Stan's just like Tony Panic did. A couple of years of.
Are they still open?
Well, the school is still open, yes. But I mean, I didn't go recently. This was many years ago. I've been out of Catholic school for a while now. But facing off against Sister Mary with her yardstick certainly puts a young rambunctious little Chuck in check. So, if you want to get a good quality education, you can't go wrong with Catholic school.
Exactly. Well, I got a quick question for Lynette. And is that how I say it? Is that right, Lynette?
Yes.
Okay. So you said regarding the incident in Minneapolis, you didn't see a lot of it or didn't know a lot about it, right?
Yes.
And yet then, don't get me wrong, I'm not getting down on you because I understand you're young. And I mean, I had, kids your age at one time, and I don't care how smart they thought they were. I always thought they were, you guys got a lot to learn. But you say you didn't see a lot of it, you didn't know a lot about it, and yet you said the cop could have been better under composure or more compassionate.
No, they should have had more composure. Yes.
How would you come to that conclusion if you don't know a lot about it?
Well, she made a conclusion based on the information that she saw.
No, Chuck,
and that's my point.
Chuck.
Go ahead, Chuck,
Lynette. You're not Lynette.
Go ahead.
Yeah, let her answer.
I think shooting your gun at someone should probably be your last option. Again, I don't know all the details. I don't know. People say that she hit him with her car. I don't know. Other people say she didn't. I'm not sure. I think shooting at someone should be your last option.
Why would you deem him? Okay, so how do you know it wasn't his last option?
I don't.
Then why would you say he should have had more composure?
Well, because based on other
see what I'm saying?
On the other experiences that I've seen with ICE, how they handle things.
Okay, but this one is different from all of those. This one stands alone by itself. See what I'm saying, though?
Why is that?
What do you mean, why is that?
Well, and so my point is, okay, so again, I was thinking a lot, again, like you said, you had at some point you had teenagers, I've got a teenager, and so it's sort of, that discussion about, if my son wanted to go to a protest or wanted to insert himself into the situation the way this woman and her wife seem to have done, I would say, you know what, this is not fun and games. Don't go and, like I said earlier, people that refuse to acknowledge their authority in their city are going in and blocking them from doing their job. They're blocking the street. Like at the end of the day, I care about, my family, people I know. I would tell my son, no, you're not going and getting involved in protests or whatever because it's a serious situation. Just like there was a situation in L.A. where a U-Haul drove through an Iranian protest. So inserting yourself into that situation is inherently dangerous, and she found that out. But then also on the other side of this,
I don't understand what that has to do with anything.
On the other side of this, as a police officer, walking in front of a car has an inherent risk. Walking in front of a car, there is a risk involved. And and again, this becomes a question of, is that policy? Is that how you do things? I've never been through law enforcement training. I'm asking a question.
Are you out of your
I'm
mind?
asking a question. If you stand in front of a car, what is a possible outcome of that situation? If you stand in front of a car with a scared woman who doesn't recognize your authority, there is a good chance she's going to slam on the gas and try to run you over. And that's exactly what happened. So, I'm saying he has a jurisdictional right to do what he does. But I'm saying if you stand in front of a car, that happens sometimes. Am I wrong?
That's like saying if I stand in front of a criminal and he's got a gun, I'm responsible if he shoots at me?
If he has a gun and you stand in front of him, yes.
In front of
yes, that's my point. Is if you stand in front of a car, which he clearly got in front of her car, that is a possible outcome. I'm just saying, if I'm law enforcement, I'm going to stay out of the way, but that's just me. That's why I'm not a cop, because I'm not going to go stand in front of a car. I'm not going to put myself into dangerous situations like that, which is why, I shied away from law enforcement. But I'm saying the situation had a predictable outcome, and that was pretty much it. And this idea that everybody wants to shirk responsibility and say, well, it's the other side's fault. Everybody has fault. Everybody has fault, and everybody is an innocent. And it's unfortunate, and this is exactly the kind of accident that I said was going to happen when you have these situations. And that's exactly how I expected it was going to go down months ago.
I've stood in front of 1 million cars. They've never hit me on their own until the operator.
Because they didn't know it was you. But now if they knew it was you, that's a different. If you said, hi, I'm Mad Mac, there's like a 20% chance they're going to try to run you over. I'm just saying. I'm Mad Mac from WJOB. Then you're going to hear them hit the gas. Okay, I'm being funny.
Could stand anywhere he wants. He's a police officer attempting to enforce the law.
Right.
This woman and her lesbian lover were there all day long harassing them.
Right.
They finally had enough. She was blocking their legal movement. What they're trying to do is enforce the law. And then she decides, well, oh, yeah, I don't hate you. Yeah, Then she puts it in reverse, back in the drive, and floors it.
But my point is, these people do not recognize that.
Did something incredibly stupid and lost her life.
Right. And so that is what happens when you resist law enforcement. We all agree that when you resist law, again, not always the case, but you're going to have a much better time if you say, yes, sir, no, sir, put your hands up, put your hands on the steering wheel. You're probably going to go home. If I can't say on the radio, but you find out, but again, that's part of the danger. But I'm saying that is the danger of not, when you even have your mayor and your governor not recognizing their authority, you don't recognize their authority either. You can say all day long, I don't recognize your authority, but at the end of the day, they are men with guns and pepper spray and the ability to arrest and detain you. That's the inherent problem with the situation, is you have people, and now you have, what did Governor Tim Walz, he basically threatened ICE with the National Guard. Again, that's a good way to escalate the situation. But that's my point, is that everybody's out here escalating. And just like I was saying after Charlie Kirk, we should be saying lower the temperature. We have to de-escalate this. Instead, everybody's out here, on both sides, even elected officials, even governors.
Lower the temperature. Just take ICE and just disband ICE. That would lower that. Let's never send police out to a crime.
So this becomes
occurring,
right? Okay.
Then the cop won't get hurt. Right?
But this becomes a question that we had going back to L.A. when ICE was in L.A. and the governor said, we don't want you here. And the mayor. So is there, again, going back to sort of states' rights issues, if the state says, I don't want you here, should the federal government intervene? And that becomes a bigger question about states' rights and authority and constitutionality.
They're with the federal government, Chuck.
Right. And
they have a right to, they have an obligation under the Constitution to enforce the law. Police, when an officer is laying in a hospital bed bleeding, you don't go, you know how you could have avoided this, officer? If you didn't go to that crime scene because that lady called and her family was under assault and she was being raped, if you just didn't go there, you wouldn't have got shot. That's the most insane thing I think I've ever heard you say, Chuck.
That is what Tim Walz, that is what the local government of Minneapolis is saying. If you're not here, you're not going to get hurt. And that becomes the inherent question is, does your federal government, does Trump have that responsibility to go into a state where they're not welcome and needed? And I'll go back to, you know what my point on this always is? My point is, why am I paying for this at the end of the day? But that becomes the inherent question is, should federal government intervene when they're not welcome?
This is why you're the head of a political party.
And see, this is where he gets mad.
4 votes a year.
Go ahead, talk about the overalls, and go ahead and mention Mr. Overalls.
Holy moly, Chuck. They have a legal obligation to enforce the law. Do you think cops, they go, oh, here's a call, there's gunfire, and there's 40 guys shooting at each other. Yeah, I'd love to go over there. Let's stop and get some donuts and coffee, and then we'll head over to the gunfire and see how it goes. You think they wake up in the morning going, I can't wait to get that call? No, but they have to go.
Okay.
That's their obligation. That's their job. That's why we have police. That's why it's called a civil society. You must have laws and rules that we have to abide by. And if
what happens when
sometimes you might get a bullet put in your head?
What happens when a community doesn't recognize that authority? That's where we're at in Minneapolis.
Then they can move to Somalia where they don't have rules and regulations, and you can have a hell of a time doing whatever you want. But if you want to stay in the States, you kind of got to at least stay close to the guardrail. You may bang off them every once in a while, but you got to do your best to stay in them. But back to my original point of my call is that unless you watched a lot of these videotapes, watch some of the coverage. Oh, you didn't know that these women were there all day harassing these guys? That they were blocking the roadway? You've got to have an understanding of what's going on before you comment on it. And if you don't know, you just go.
But this is also, you know, but again, there's a reason.
I don't know yet.
There's a reason why I asked her what she's seen on her. Yeah, she said, I watch TikTok. What is TikTok saying? What is the evening? She doesn't watch the evening news. What is the evening news telling older folks that still watch the evening news? What does the newspaper say? I find these things interesting. I find it interesting that I can live in a world where 2 people can watch the same footage and have 2 totally different reactions. I've been asking people all weekend, what is your reaction? And it's like split down the middle. Half the people say, well, she was in the wrong, and half people are saying he's. And it's interesting how that plays out. It's interesting how perception works, even when you have 5 angles of something, and it's obvious what happens. It's interesting that people come to different conclusions.
That's human nature to an extent.
Right.
It's also political bias.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's curious how the political bias affects something that's obvious when you watch footage of something.
But what I'm saying, hey, you got to look at what's going on. You have to see what's there before you comment on it. That's what. Well,
then social media would be a ghost town if nobody commented on things they have no idea they shouldn't be commenting on. I mean, that's social media in a nutshell, my friend.
Information. You look at the videotape.
No. You react. You react based on a meme. No, you look at a meme and you go, I'm outraged. I'm protesting. I'm going to go on Facebook and spout off. I'm going to go to the whatever was last night, the Golden Globes, and spout off, even though I don't have a clue what I'm talking about. Because that's what we do. That's what we do here, sir. So okay,
maybe that's what you do.
That's what I do every morning here every Monday morning here in WGOB. So okay, I got to move on because we got a whole bunch of calls. So I appreciate the call. Let's get some other perspectives on this, and then we got to take a break. Good morning, caller on the air.
Chuck, good morning.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Hey, I can't do this with Jed because he becomes offended. So let me see if I can do it with you.
Okay.
You've got a lovely wife and 2 children, right?
I do.
Okay. Let's look at the people that ICE was going